In the quiet town of Ravenwood, a woman named Sarah Mitchell lived with her 8-year-old daughter, Emily. Emily was an ordinary child, bright smile, small backpack. Every morning at 7 a.m., she walked to school down the same quiet street. But one autumn day, Emily never came home. Police searched the town, they searched the woods, they searched the river, but Emily Mitchell simply vanished. Weeks passed. The town slowly accepted the truth. Emily was gone. Until the night Sarah heard a knock on her door. It was exactly 1:30 a.m. When she opened the door, Emily was standing there. Her school uniform was dirty. Her feet were bare. Mud dripped slowly from her legs. Sarah screamed and pulled her into a hug, crying harder than she ever had. But something felt wrong. Emily didn't hug her back. She just stared, completely still, completely silent. Then she whispered something that froze Sarah's blood. "Mom, why did you bury me?" The next morning, Sarah rushed to Emily's school. Teachers stared at her in confusion. Emily had never arrived at school the day she disappeared. But the real horror came hours later, when the police called. A body had been found in the forest outside Ravenwood, a small body wearing a school uniform. When Sarah arrived, she collapsed, because the girl lying in the forest was Emily. But that night, when Sarah returned home, she heard footsteps upstairs, slow, careful, and a voice calling softly from Emily's bedroom, "Mom, I'm home." After the night Emily returned, the house on Willow Street was never quiet again. At first, Sarah tried to convince herself everything was normal. Emily ate breakfast, Emily watched cartoons, Emily even laughed sometimes. But something about her daughter had changed. Emily barely blinked, she rarely spoke, and sometimes she would stand in the hallway at night, just staring at the front door, waiting. Then Sarah noticed something else. Every night, at exactly 1:30 a.m., Emily left the house. The first time it happened, Sarah woke up to the sound of the door slowly creaking open. By the time she reached the hallway, Emily was gone. The next night, Sarah stayed awake. She watched from the staircase as Emily quietly opened the door and stepped outside. No coat, no shoes, just the cold night air. Sarah followed her, down the empty street, past silent houses, into the dark woods outside Ravenwood. The deeper they walked, the colder the air became. Fog crawled along the ground like something alive. Then Emily stopped. She stood beside a patch of disturbed earth, a shallow grave. Sarah's heart pounded as she stepped closer. That's when the ground began to move. The dirt shifted, slowly. Something underneath was pushing upward. The soil cracked open, and from the darkness below, a long, pale hand emerged. Then another. Something was climbing out of the grave. Something tall, something thin, something that moved like it had been buried for a very long time. Emily turned slowly toward her mother. Her eyes were darker now, her smile wider. Then she whispered softly into the night, "You shouldn't have followed me, Mom." Behind her, the creature fully crawled out of the earth, and for the first time, Sarah realized the truth. Whatever came home that night, it didn't come alone. Sarah ran. Branches tore at her arms as she ran through the forest. Behind her, she could hear something moving. Not footsteps, something dragging, something tall, something that did not move like a human. When Sarah finally reached the edge of town, she collapsed on the road. The police found her at sunrise. She tried to explain what she had seen, the grave, the thing that climbed out of the earth, but the officers looked at each other in silence. Then, one older officer sighed and said something that made Sarah's blood run cold. "You followed her into the woods, didn't you?" Sarah stared at him. "How do you know about Emily?" The officer didn't answer right away. Instead, he pulled out an old photograph, a black and white picture from 40 years ago. It showed another little girl standing in front of a house, barefoot, mud on her legs, the same empty stare. The officer spoke quietly. Every 20 years, a child disappears in Ravenwood, and sometimes they come back. Sarah felt the ground disappear beneath her. "What comes back?" she whispered. The officer looked toward the forest, not the child. That night, Sarah went home. Emily was sitting on her bed, perfectly still, watching her. Then Emily slowly smiled and whispered something that made Sarah's heart stop. "Mom, the thing in the woods is getting hungry." Outside the window, in the darkness beyond the trees, something tall was standing there, waiting, watching the house, waiting for someone else to come home. At 1:30 a.m. After the police officer told Sarah the truth about Ravenwood, sleep never returned to her house. Every night felt heavier, every shadow looked wrong, and every clock in the house seemed to tick louder as midnight approached. Sarah tried to pretend everything was normal. Emily sat at the dinner table. Emily watched television. Emily even smiled sometimes, but something was deeply wrong. Emily never blinked when she stared at the window, not once. Then, the first strange thing happened. One night, Sarah woke up suddenly.
What was that?
The house was completely
Something's
silent.
not right.
No wind,
there?
no insects, nothing. Then she heard it. A slow, scratching sound outside the house. Sarah walked quietly toward the living room window, and when she looked outside, her heart nearly stopped. Standing at the edge of the trees was the tall shape she had seen in the forest. It was too thin, too long. Its arms hung almost to the ground, and its head slowly turned toward the house. It knew she was watching. Sarah stepped backward in terror. When she turned around, Emily was standing behind her, completely silent, completely still. Then Emily spoke in a calm whisper. "Mom, you shouldn't be afraid. He's just waiting." Sarah's voice shook. Waiting for what? Emily slowly tilted her head. Then she smiled, but this time the smile was wrong, too wide, too sharp. Then she said something that froze the air in the room. "Waiting until you invite him inside." The lights in the house flickered, once, twice, then every light went out. The entire house fell into darkness, and from outside the window, Sarah heard a deep, slow knock, 3 times. Knock, knock, knock. Emily whispered in the darkness, "Mom, he's here now." The knocking did not stop. Knock, knock, knock. Slow, heavy, patient. Sarah stood frozen in the darkness of the living room. Outside the window, something was waiting. And beside her, the thing wearing Emily's face was smiling. "Mom," Emily whispered softly, "you should open the door." Sarah backed away slowly. "No," she said. Emily's smile faded. For the first time since she returned, Emily looked angry. The lights flickered again. And then something terrifying happened. From outside the house, Sarah heard a voice. A small voice. A weak voice. A voice she hadn't heard in weeks. "Mom, please help me." Sarah's heart nearly stopped. It was Emily. The real Emily. The voice was coming from the forest, from somewhere deep in the trees. Sarah turned slowly toward the window. The tall creature was still standing there, but now its head tilted sideways, almost like it was listening. Then the voice came again. "Mom, I'm still here." Sarah suddenly understood the truth. The girl inside the house was not Emily. The real Emily was still trapped somewhere in the woods, buried, waiting. And the creature outside needed something. It needed a mother to invite it inside.
Sarah grabbed the front door handle. The fake Emily stepped forward quickly. "Don't go," she whispered. "Stay with me." But Sarah pushed the door open and ran into the night. Rain poured from the sky. Thunder cracked across Ravenwood. She ran toward the forest, toward the voice calling her name. But behind her, the house door slowly creaked open again, and the thing wearing Emily's face stepped outside, its body twisting strangely in the rain, its smile stretching wider than any human face should. Inside the forest, Sarah found the disturbed earth, the shallow grave. Her hands clawed at the dirt desperately, digging, crying, screaming Emily's name. Then finally, her fingers touched something, a small hand, cold, weak, Emily's real hand. Sarah pulled her daughter from the earth. Emily gasped for air, alive, barely breathing, but alive. Sarah hugged her tightly, but when she looked up, the tall creature was standing between the trees, and beside it, the other Emily, the fake one, both of them staring, watching, waiting. Then the creature slowly spoke, its voice deep and ancient. "You chose the wrong child." The wind howled through the forest, and suddenly, both figures vanished into the darkness. Emily clung tightly to her mother, shaking, crying. "Mom, it said it will come back." Sarah held her close, but deep inside, she knew the truth. In Ravenwood, some things never leave, and every night, at exactly 1:30 a.m., something still walks out of the forest, looking for another door to knock on.